It can take some time for two parents to get to the point where they can say their co-parenting relationship is going well. For most families, there's always room for improvement. But rather than focusing on what's not working, we're here to give you some tips to accentuate the positive and work towards resolving any conflicts. We've put together a series of videos specially for separated parents, focusing on a range of topics such as communication, managing emotions, and the role of mediation. We hope you find them helpful.
Once you've spent some time co-parenting, it may become clearer to you what is and what's not working. Maybe you've noticed that the children are not coping with some of the arrangements, or perhaps you feel that there's unnecessary conflict with the other parent. Maybe you just feel that it's time to make some longer-term agreements, now that things feel a little bit more settled. Most separated parents use parallel or side-by-side parenting. This is where each parent is responsible for the day-to-day decisions relating to their child when that child is with them. They don't have to consult the other parent about the small things, and this can reduce communication and conflict. If you disagree about how the other parent is caring for your child, pick your battles. Think about where this behaviour sits on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being a really small annoying thing, like being 5 minutes late for changeover, and 10 being a clear risk to safety, such as driving with the kids whilst under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Is the issue important enough to raise, or are you able to let it go? Sometimes in choosing to let things go, even when those things are really annoying, you can keep a business-like relationship with the other parent and protect the kids from unnecessary conflict. It can also mean that your messages are more clearly received on the really important issues. If there is something happening that you feel is a real concern for your children, you need to raise it. If it's an emergency, contact the police or report the behaviour. Check out our module on effective communication for some excellent tips on how to get your message across clearly and with the best chance of avoiding conflict.
The Family Law Act says that separated parents should share in the responsibility for caring for, paying for, and making major decisions for their kids. These major decisions focus on long-term issues like your children's education, healthcare, living arrangements, religion, culture, and their name. In certain circumstances, the court does have the power to remove this responsibility from one parent or the other. If making decisions together is too hard and ends in conflict, often parents will simply stop trying to work together, but this can lead to bigger problems. You can always ask for help. Mediation can help make decisions for the future.
Let's look at a case study. Mary and Stephen had been separated for 4 years. Their oldest child, Jack, was in year 6 and they needed to decide on a high school for him. Every time the issue was raised, they argued because Mary wanted Jack to attend the local Catholic school and Stephen didn't feel that the additional fees were necessary. He wanted to send Jack to the public school. As time went by, Mary decided that they needed the help of a mediator. During mediation, both parents were able to explain their views about high school. The mediator kept them on track and asked questions so that both parents understood the other's concerns, and they worked through what each of them thought and what would be best for Jack. At the end of the session, Mary and Stephen agreed that Jack would attend the local Catholic school, and rather than splitting the school fees 50-50 as they had done before, Mary would pay an additional cost for him to attend the more expensive school.
In working out what is in the best interests of kids, the law says that you need to ensure that children are firstly safe emotionally and physically. Secondly, you must ensure children have a relationship with both parents. What's best for a child must fit within these 2 rules. The Family Law Act refers to the rights of children and the responsibilities of parents. So in thinking about what's best for your kids, you need to ask first, is it safe? Secondly, you need to ask, does what you want to do support the right of the child to have a relationship with both parents? If you need help from an unbiased party, look into mediation. Mediators won't decide for you, but they will provide information and suggestions that may make a final decision clearer. The goal is to find something you can both live with in the best interests of your child. You could also make use of a process called Child Inclusive Practice, known as CIP, to help you get a clearer picture of what's best for your child right now. This process involves an assessment to determine if it's appropriate, and then if it is, a child consultant meets with your child or children to get some insight into how things are for them right now. The consultant then brings that information back to the parents in preparation for their mediation. The child is never asked to make decisions or be involved in adult issues, but their voice can be brought into the mediation to highlight what's important to them.
Let's look at another case study. John and Nola had an 8-year-old son, Max. They moved to Australia from Germany when their son was a baby because John had a job offer here. Since that time, John and Nola had divorced and they shared the care of their son. Nola had struggled to find work and the family was financially reliant on John. Nola was thinking about going back to Germany. She had family there and felt that it would be easier to get a job. John was still employed and settled in Australia. They came to mediation to discuss their co-parenting, including Nola's desire to move. The family engaged in child inclusive practice, which gave Max the chance to share how things were for him, and the information was passed on to his parents in mediation. John and Nola agreed that right now, Max was settled and enjoying Australia. Since John had no plans to move back to Germany, in order to support Max's relationship with both of his parents, Nola would stay in Australia for the time being with additional financial support from John until she found work. They also agreed that Nola can take Max back to Germany to spend time with her family from time to time.
Communication is a common issue discussed in mediation. If it's managed well, it can reduce conflict and improve respectful relationships. Handled badly, it makes everything worse and can end up damaging the children too. The right amount of communication between parents is critical. Think about what's right for your situation and the best method of maintaining it. You may like to think about, do you want to communicate about everything or just the important stuff? Do you want to communicate by talking to each other or by text? Do you want to make use of a communication book, online calendar, or a co-parenting app to make things easier for you? Can you agree not to use the kids to communicate with the other parent? And will you agree not to speak badly about the other parent in front of the kids? Understanding each other's communication needs can make things easier, and knowing what you have agreed to can reduce the stress and uncertainty. Kids are badly affected when they have to be the messenger between their parents. They want to keep you both happy and will often sacrifice themselves in order to protect a parent who they are worried about. In passing messages, they know they may upset one of their parents. It's not fair on them. For kids, knowing that their parents are talking to each other respectfully and making decisions for them together, even if they don't always agree, is really comforting. If they see you working together and putting their needs ahead of any anger or resentment that might be between you, it shows them how important they are to you.
Try putting together your thoughts and send them to the other parent for feedback. If it's too hard, contacting a mediator can help you resolve long-term issues, such as how will you manage special days like birthdays, Father's Day, Mother's Day and Christmas? How will you manage the school holidays? How will you make big decisions for your kids? And how do you manage new partners?
Remember that the kids will have their own relationship with the other parent, and it's important that they know that they can feel differently than you do. Their relationship with the other parent is really important, and as hard as it may be, it should be supported by you. Equally important is that you feel supported in your own grief over changes and transitions like new partners. Ask for help if you feel you can't cope. Accessing counselling, spending time with your friends, or pursuing your own interests might be what you need. If the kids are struggling with these transitions too, they may need their own support. Speak with their teacher and maybe look into counselling options so they have someone who's not involved in the situation that they feel that they can speak to without upsetting anyone. There are also plenty of support groups for kids and parents in this situation. It's good to know that you're not alone in dealing with the change in your family and to get some tips and supports as you move on and rebuild.
Make a decision to focus on the big picture. Your kids don't need you to be perfect parents, just good parents. There'll be times when things don't go the way you want them to. There'll be bumps in the road. The other parent will do things that you don't like. Remember, you can't control the other parent, only yourself, your responses, and your actions. Your choices should support a safe, healthy space for your kids. Ask yourself, what do I want my kids to remember most about this time of their lives? There's lots of information available that should give you the support you need. We've made a list of these resources, as well as some really good parenting courses. Learn more about how we support separated families. Contact us today.